Hey guys, Infidel1258 here. Today I want to recap the town hall from June 20th, 2022. There's a few important topics here, but there was a lot of stuff that I found just not deeply interesting to me personally. So I've tried to distill it. Probably this will be a 10-minute video. Some of these are really important, but a ton of the stuff I felt was, to me, superficial. So let's get into what I thought was the meat and potatoes of today's town hall, and I'll try to keep it under 10 minutes. Okay. So the first thing that we talked about around the 31-minute mark was the fact that Modern versus Wild, that phase 1 will be introduced by the end of July or early August, and that they're actually doing internal QA, quality assessment, right? Quality analysis, QA. I actually don't know what that technically means. I know it means testing, but I don't know what the phrase means. Regardless, they're testing, and they should release it by end of July or early August. And Hardpoint was very clear that that's not a promised date; it's a planned date, and that they definitely can see that grow longer if other issues kind of raised. But this is a change in priority, and now they are focusing on getting this Modern versus Wild out before the tech modernization, which you've heard them talk about before. Tech modernization is the idea that they want to bring up the quality of some of the background tech that enables some things within the game, including a non-card marketplace. All good stuff. We definitely want to see that tech modernization come to fruition. That will increase and I guess improve the interface and the use of the game as a whole. But to me, the Modern vs. Wild is a gigantic transformation of what this game is and how you can earn with it. So this is a huge point. And end of July is very soon. I mean, we're like 5-6 weeks away from what this would look like potentially. And that would mean that there's going to be an opportunity to earn using modern cards in a modern league. That would be Untamed, Dice, and Chaos Legion, and then any new reward cards that would pair up with those different sets, versus every set in the Wild. Wild is everything. Modern is just the two recent sets and the applicable rewards and boosters. So it strikes me as this really interesting time, because it's gonna come at a time, I think, when we're gonna see a spike in player base due to already increasing rewards, due to the recent reward changes, for one, due to the accelerating Chaos Legion sales, because I do think they're going to accelerate because of different things around the SPS airdrop and how that's going to disincentivize holding DEC, and the arbitrage opportunity into Chaos Legion from DEC. All of that might mean that the Chaos Legion packs sell faster, which ought to mean that there's this new excitement around brand new legendary air summoners, and arbitrage opportunities are always exciting. So I just think there's a potential for a real growth in player base. And then I think we're going to see, because of the lower level rewards, I think we are going to see a massive increase in bot use at the lower levels. Not good for us exactly, but good in the sense it's gonna bring a lot of new games and new accounts and new ultimately new renters at the lowest levels, because remember, you need ghost cards. You can't use ghost cards nowadays. And so this is exciting because it's going to come at a moment when there's the kind of this perfect storm of lots of other things that are really exciting. And then you're going to be able to earn at Modern with your 50% collection power requirements, or earn at Wild with kind of the current collection power requirements. And that's interesting too, because that means everybody's going to want to fight in the Modern, but that's going to mean a small fraction of people fighting in Wild splitting a big pie, right? Because that's how the DEC payouts and ultimately SPS payouts, when we get to that place, are going to be based on the pie is X big, and you get your slice of the pie is Y based on how many participants are playing in that game, in that league for that day, and whether you won or lost. So if there are 10% of the total population playing in Wild, that's going to mean that the individual wins are going to pay out way more. And so what's that going to do to older cards and their value proposition? I'm not exactly sure, but there's about 6 different considerations that I just kind of quickly threw out there to you guys. And I think it's going to be an interesting and important time for this amazing game. So at the end of July or early August, Modern vs. Wild is going to be launching. That's so cool. We'll probably see it first. You're going to see it in the Mavs, because they said right now they're doing internal QA, but then they're going to let us, the Mavs are going to get a taste of it and get to test it and see whether it works or doesn't work. And so it's going to come out in like phases. You're going to hear more and more about it at the town hall. So stick around and stay tuned for that. Then at 37 minutes, we saw they've got, this is big. This is really big. They've actually come to terms and struck a relationship with some other third-party developer that is working on a separate game that would use the in-game Splinterlands assets somehow, some way. It might be nothing at all like what we've seen here. There was no details provided except that it's a third-party company taking away none of the attention or time or finances that Splinterlands has to work on this game. And so they've just partnered. They've got, obviously they've got cred, and Splinterlands trusts their development style or their something, right? Like they've come to this place where Splinterlands is saying, go ahead and run with this and try and build something of your own and incorporate utility for our non-fungible token card assets or SPS or DEC or whatever, in-game assets, make them functional on your game, and we'll cross over compatibility as much as we can. And as much as you create opportunity for us to do so. So this sounds like it's just like a thought really at this moment, but Hardpoint sounded very excited, and I would echo excitement around the fact that with blockchain, you can get third-party developers creating amazing iteration on what you've already done, and it can add a huge value to the community. And there's zero risk to Splinterlands because they don't have to pay the development. They don't have to pay anything. The tokenomics of the game itself can support the game's development if it's done wisely. And yet it can have a built-in user base, us, because they're going to incorporate the value and add value and utility to the tokens and cards and in-game assets we already hold and enjoy from this game, Splinterlands. So it was just almost like a generic kind of nod at this is what we're doing. But he did say they've got a partnership already. He did say that's already beginning. He didn't say there was any details yet. I don't know that there's any details at all, but awesome. This is no skin off Splinterland's back. It requires none of their own commitment. And so it's literally just run with it, guys. If you fail, whatever. If you succeed, all the better for every one of us. That was around the 37-minute mark if you're interested. And then there's two more points. At 1 hour, 35 minutes approximately, they talked about the reward changes being discussed. So we now know, you've heard me talk about the rewards in the updated system and how, I guess, problematic they are at the lowest levels. I really believe that the lower level rewards, bronze and silver, are being paid at too high a level for the cost, input, and time commitment required to achieve those chests. I really believe it's easy to get a max 100, 150 chests for the season and like 20, 30 chests a day, most days of the season, at that bronze or silver level, just simply by competing at a higher league, gold or diamond, and you're going to cruise. You're going to, you don't even need to play an hour and a half. You can play 2 or 3 games and get 20 chests if you are high enough in your leagues. And so it's about minimum investment and minimum time commitment, achieving too great of a reward. So the ROI should be appropriate and commensurate for what you've put into the game. And that's what they've always said there was a target. And right now this is not hitting that target. If I can rent cards for free and achieve huge bronze level success, which is possible, or huge silver success or huge gold success, which is possible, even diamond level success, according to some of the best YouTubers out there, have said they've rented for their decks using diamond cards and they've achieved amazing diamond rewards, and it's ended up being profitable on the season. That means that the economy is such that there is too much reward and too much incentive to play multiple accounts as opposed to consolidating into one account. It needs to be more difficult, and this is hard to say because we all want more rewards. But if rewards come easy, then you lead to excessive inflation. If excessive inflation erodes the value of the assets that we want to hold and see value grow into. Now, there's other considerations too, and this is a whole can of worms. I could spend 20 minutes talking about this. Just suffice it to say, Splinterlands agrees that this issue needs to be looked at. And Hardpoint ripped off 5 or 6 different topics that they are looking at. He said, we're looking at how far you drop after the season ends. Maybe they'll tweak that. They looked at the daily focus, moving it from a singular daily focus where you see here I'm working on death. What if it was death this battle and fire next battle and snipe the third battle? So he called it a dynamic focus. Then he said, what about more daily focuses in general? And then he said changes to the R-share formula. And lastly, he said season rental. He commented that they've noticed something within the data around how we're using season rentals. Probably, people are renting cards one day at a time. They get a death focus and they go rent some death cards and just crush the death focus. And then tomorrow they can rent fire focus and the next day they can rent, you know what I mean? So in that way, the dynamic daily focus would be so much better than just this one daily focus, which we can just kind of take advantage of. And certainly I've been taking advantage of. Like when I get fire, I just go rent Yodin and I win most of my matches and I crush my dailies and my seasons. That's not ideal because it's incentivizing minor contributions financially and major rewards. So they talked about that. They didn't say they're doing anything. They just said they're looking at those factors and they're considering those possible alterations. And I think based on the tone of how he said it in last week's town hall and how Yaba spoke to the issue, I feel convinced that they understand that something needs to change and that changes will come. I think they'll change this focus into a more dynamic mode, which is going to probably rotate between focuses, meaning every battle you might have a different focus. That'll prevent the idea that you can just go rent a few key cards for one splinter and really crush the season. If they change the R shares formula so that it's possibly even less, maybe you can't fight in diamond and claim bronze chests. That would eliminate some of the gamification or the opportunity that I'm taking advantage of, which is probably a good thing. See, this would hurt me. So hear me, guys. The advice I want them to follow will hurt me, but I want them to follow it. I want them to limit the number of chests I'm receiving when I'm playing at gold or diamond and I'm earning silver or bronze chests. That will hurt me. But I think it's good for my game and I like Splinterlands, so I'm willing to recommend that. So that's something I think they're working on, and I hope they bring it. And lastly, they talked about more and more rewards coming from staked SPS, trying to increase the value of vouchers. And so Hardpoint said, we're really focused on driving value for the vouchers. We really want to see that we continue to bring new value to the holding of SPS, and the SPS vouchers are a part of that conversation. And so how do we add value to vouchers? Well, probably more partnerships and more, promo cards and more, promotional materials. And maybe soon we're going to have Rift Watchers. He didn't get into any of this stuff, but he just said, we really want to focus on building value into SPS and specifically vouchers. And so, we are expecting energy capture rate potions, and the implication was that we would need to spend vouchers in order to buy those. So that's probably one major way that we'll want to then buy vouchers to have them to buy ECR potions. And they could add any number of additional things in there also, right? So those were the Cole's notes, in my opinion, the most exciting topics that were discussed today in the town hall. If you want to check it out for yourself, I'll make sure the link is in the description. You guys should watch these. I know they're 2 hours long and sometimes that can be overwhelming, but there's a ton of good, important things there. We also talked about Splinterfest. We talked about, there's some conference in New York City going on right now. Yaba and Aggie are there, and I saw Luke Placer is there too. So tons of other cool things, but those are the big ones. Guys, thanks so much for your time and attention. Have an amazing day. God bless.